And next we have Representative Rick Hayes.
Good afternoon, Chair Motz, Chair Nolan, Ranking Member Vale, and the rest of the committee. Thank you for letting me have some time here this afternoon.
Fire chief of the Griswold Fire Department. I've been a member of the fire department for 40 years, and I've rose through the ranks to be chief for the last 11 years. With that, I'm a training officer. As the chief, we make sure that things run correctly, and this bill will only help to bring volunteers with the military that are involved in towns to help to keep us afloat, because we're having such a hard time to keep our volunteers. This is one step that will get them to begin the qualifications of being a certified driver on the fire apparatus. It doesn't automatically give them the right to get behind the wheel and drive down the road and say, I can do this. It gives us the ability as fire officers, as fire chiefs, to actually allow them to start the process of training on the fire apparatus. We're having a hard time now with the volunteers. It's not just volunteers, it's paid people. The paid firefighters aren't able to, if they don't have a queue, they're not even thought about. We have people who are in the military who have this license, but are unable to obtain or even get into a class where they can come in and learn the queue aspect of driving a truck. They have to either go for a CDL or a queue, and sometimes the classes are far and few between to get these people qualified. So I ask that we try to take this into consideration, that it's another help for the volunteer services.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Anybody to my right? Okay, maybe not too many questions this time.
Well, I will do what we can. This is certainly very important to our firefighters who rise to the occasion every single day and save our lives and respond when we need them the very most. And, you know, as I said in the district, this gentleman here actually saved my life one time. Chief Holowaty has, from anaphylactic shock during my first campaign. So, sir, for personally, thank you. It's an honor to host you today.
Thank you.
So I want to put that on the record. Sir, in addition to being a fire chief and a over 41-year veteran of the fire department in Griswold, you also wear another hat, and that's a state-certified Q instructor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you just take us sort of through the process of what it would require, say for me, as a civilian with no military experience, what it would take for me to get a Q endorsement?
So the way we work it is you would have to take a class. I offered a class last year in which I only had 3 participants. Of the 3 participants, only 2 were able to go through the complete aspect of the class, as one was under the age of 21 years old. But you would take the class. That's usually over a course of 2 weekends. There is some knowledge tests that you have to take, some quizzes and that kind of thing. But you are then taken out to a vehicle. We have the vehicle of our choice, and you go through the knowledge portion of that truck. You have to know everything about that truck. That's called the pre-trip when you take the Q endorsement. The Q endorsement, then after the pre-trip, you can start beginning the driving aspect of it. The driving aspect of it is just a road skill test, which is really just some maneuvering back and forth through some cones, like for a serpentine type test, before you're actually even able to take the vehicle out onto the road. We have some decent sized roads. I don't put anybody on a rural road in the town of Griswold until they know at least the aspects of driving that truck, down the road. It's not like driving your personal vehicle down the road. Even if you have a little larger vehicle, an SUV or something like that, people aren't aware of how heavy these vehicles are. That's the big thing that you have to remember. After we get them going down the road and they can drive proficiently on what I consider state highways, state roads, which are wider roads, then we'll start taking them down the rural roads. Rural roads, you have to go much slower, you have to give much more room for the other vehicles as they're passing by you. That's just getting them to testing. Once they get tested, there's no help. We put them in front. I usually will bring in someone different other than myself who have trained these people. I'll bring in a third party just to test them, take them down the road, make sure they're able to do it. And that just gives them the Q endorsement for their license. In order to drive the piece of apparatus to an emergency incident, now they have to go through hours of training, understanding how to pump the truck. If it has an aerial piece, understanding the aerial piece. If it's a rescue vehicle, understanding all the equipment that's on that vehicle, just in order to get qualified to be able to take it to an incident. And our people are always watched. Anytime somebody does something, drives a little bit too fast, maybe they rolled through a stop sign, a stoplight, they didn't do it exactly the way they're supposed to do it, we'll do more training with them. It's constant training, it's constant watching, no matter what qualifications you have for a driver's license.
Chief, if somebody in the state of Connecticut has a CDL, do they have to go through the Q endorsement?
No.
Okay. Also, I think you heard in the prior testimony, in Connecticut, you need to take a skills test, and then you have to take a Connecticut knowledge written exam knowledge test. If you have military certifications, such as the diagram we held up, like the MTV endorsement, this one right here, you're essentially exempt from a CDL skills test. Now, again, I'm going to ask you the same question, and I think it's important. The skills test for a Q endorsement and the skills test for the CDL endorsement, is that the same exact skills test?
To the best of my knowledge, it is.
It replicates exactly.
Absolutely.
And you can also speak to that as not only a fire chief, but as a Q instructor.
Correct.
Okay, so it would seem like common sense knowledge would be that if you've got the MTV endorsement in the military and you're exempt from that skills test, under what's required for a Q endorsement, you should be able to get the Q endorsement on your license in an instant.
Absolutely.
And again, to operate an MTV and have that, or a CDL, to have the CDL, doesn't necessarily, or an MTV or a CDL, either one of those, in Connecticut, doesn't necessarily mean that you're certified to drive a fire truck right away, correct?
Absolutely not. It means you need more testing and more training.
And that's when I come see Chief Holowaty,
Yes.
the fire chief, or any other respective chief in the state.
Correct.
Okay. Sir, again, I'm going to ask you probably the same question. There's been some concern that this is going to affect the discretion or the authority of local fire chiefs, local departments, from determining who they want to put in their fire trucks, who they want to have to drive their trucks. Do you think this is going to in any way harm individual fire departments?
I don't believe it'll harm any fire departments. Again, it is discretion of the chief or chief officers or their designee on who can actually perform the duties of operating a piece of fire apparatus.
So the Q endorsement component to this doesn't affect this other component at all. It's two
No.
separate components here.
Correct.
Okay, and I guess my only, I'll ask again, in closing, my only other concern, again, is the language that's currently as drafted here in the bill. It's requiring that an active duty armed forces member or veteran has to be a member of a military fire department and hold a military license to operate a fire apparatus. Do you think that's going too far? Are you comfortable, again, as somebody who's a 2Q instructor and a fire chief, that if they have these respective certifications, that's adequate for the 2Q endorsement?
I think it limits the number of people that are in the military who may want to volunteer in a fire service, who are not firefighters. Again, to be a firefighter in the state of Connecticut, to be able to help people to go into burning buildings, you have to be certified as a firefighter. But people that are in the military that are not in the firefighting aspect of the military may have that license to drive the MTVs, but they're not in the firefighting side of it, so now they would not be eligible with the way that's drafted.
Okay, so well, you recommend we tweak this language a little bit
Absolutely.
to make sure that essentially, if you have these type of certifications that are in the military, that there's automatic reciprocity, and don't again, I'm asking as a fire chief and a TQ instructor, if somebody comes to you and has one of these certifications, are you comfortable enough with them having the Q endorsement and then coming to you as Chief Holowaty to get further training and certification to drive a fire truck?
Absolutely.
Chief, an absolute honor to have you here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Your testimony was invaluable, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yep, thank you, Representative. Rep. Vail?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Chief. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you if there was any relation to legendary baseball coach Bill Holowaty.
We do not know.
Okay, all right.
I've never met the man.
He's from Eastern Connecticut, too, so I thought maybe. Okay, thank you.
I do just have one question, Chief. Do you know what other states do? I mean, are we one of a handful that don't give the reciprocity for this license?
I'm unsure of that.
You're unsure of that, okay. Anybody else? All right, we appreciate you very much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
taking the time.